All right, I'm live. Welcome to the o'clock Eastern Standard Time live event. If you offer carriers more than $8,000 of a ticket, you have to do this in two calls, and I'll explain why. If you have a ticket offer uh, that sells in multiple follow-ups, you need to find out why follow-ups are taking place uh, amongst the salespeople you have. You got to be very careful because it sounds great and dandy that salespeople are willing to follow up, but remember, people make up in follow-ups what they lack in talent. All right. So very important to understand that. How does one call close turn into multiple follow-ups as well? I'm going to explain that to you. If you hire neophyte salespeople, you have to be willing to let them burn leads. It's going to cost you a little bit of money. That's why it's always good to have a surgical trainer that can get everything out and ready within 2 weeks so that you don't have to burn those leads, right? It shouldn't take you more than 2 to 3 months to be at $200,000 to $300,000 in sales every week. How are you? My name is Jader Salazar. I am the founder of Black Label Closers. This is an organization dedicated to help people become effective closers and help companies become effective promoters in whatever service they sell, whatever offer they sell. Right? High ticket sales is where I'm at, and what I help people with. I've helped more than 3,000 salespeople become effective and phenomenal salespeople, and I've helped more than 15 companies get from zero to $200,000 within a couple of months. Some of those companies actually we got there within a month, and that really depends. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so I'm going to dive into. I want to talk to coaches and mentors today. A lot of people are aware or becoming aware of how important it is to learn a trade and teach that trade. As AI is coming up and taking everybody's jobs, we are 3 to 5 years from losing 98 million jobs worldwide. That's a lot of jobs, all right? AI intrusion is just the way it is, all right? Right into this, and let's some of the things that we're going to talk about today. It's very important if you are in the world of mentoring people and coaching people. I will give you a couple of things that I think is essential. I've been in this business for 25 years, and I've owned 3 companies. One of my companies was the fastest growing company in the state of Utah by the Chamber of Commerce. So I know what I'm talking about. Trust me. I was the outsource point for more than 30 coaches along the several years that I own companies. Companies like names like Robert Allen, Trump University, Robert Kiyosaki, Ross Whitney. I was able to be a point of reference for all these companies to bring their programs, their leads, and we would take care of everything in-house in the back end. All right. So I want to talk to you if you're a coach, if you're a mentor. I don't want to talk to not that I don't want to talk to salespeople or aspiring salespeople today. I'm just going to focus on the people that are the source of high ticket sales. Okay. So let's dive into this. The first point that I wanted to make today is if your offer carries a ticket bigger than $8,000, break that sale into 2 calls, not 1 call. And let me explain why. And the higher the number, and I can see an $8,000 sale being made in one call. I truly can see that. That's fine. Can I see a $20,000 ticket being sold on one single call? Now, when I say one call, I mean one call. I'm not talking about a setter who just set up the appointment and the person did a lot of research, and then that would be two calls, right? Now, here's what happens, and I've talked about this several times, and I've done this for companies. I have testimonials from people, from coaches, very prominent coaches, especially one who's coming up big time now, and I believe, and I can venture to say this, that he is grateful for my intervention to help his company, because when I met him, he was having a hard time and he was spending a lot of money on leads. Came in and fixed his business. Right now, they're very healthy, making a lot of money. Everybody's making. I trained their team, and very, very pleased with the results. So here's what happens. If you have an offer, a $10,000 offer, a $15,000, and this happens to a lot of people in the field, even people that have been around for a little bit, right? So what they do is they hire real talent, very powerful salespeople, have a lot of personality, big personalities, and these people get on the phone, and in spite of the fact that these people have a lot of talent, we're talking about the car sales type of mentality, right? It's feature, 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 feature. And as Dustin Hahn said it in one of my trainings, right here, actually, he said this, and truer words couldn't have been spoken. He said, it's about features, 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 and when that reaches its plateau, it's a race to the bottom for cheaper programs. What does that mean? That conventional salespeople they understand they have to go through the discovery process until they to a point. But it's fascinating to me how a lot of great salespeople now, there's a difference between salespeople and closers, right? I train people to become closers so that if I come in and I train your team, first of all, the setters will not be setting appointments. They're going to be setting deals, meaning when they become proficient and effective setters, they're ready to close. And closers are not chasing sales, they're closing people. So here's how it works. Can you close on the first conversation with somebody? Yes. Can you have the most amount or the highest percentage of success closing or going for the close on the first call? Here is where crap hits the fan. So a powerful personality who understands how to conventionally sell somebody gets on the phone. I always train salespeople to abstain themselves from saying, I'm really impressed with you. That's one of the worst things that salespeople selling an intangible with a ticket price of $20,000 of an investment. If you get in front of somebody and you're already praising their personality, there's nothing left for you to manipulate, right, with. So you need to make sure that you understand what your game is from the psychological standpoint. So you go for the jugular, you try to close this $20,000, and you're going to close basically the people that would have purchased the program, maybe not 100%, but 80% of the people, those people that you close on the first call for $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 would have been the same amount of people that would have gone to your website and would have signed up because they already trust you. These are people that trust you. People that don't have to talk. They don't have to talk to a decision maker. They don't have to. They probably already talked to someone in your company. Very, very small percentage of people that you get that you're creating as leads are closing on a $20,000 sale on the first call. It's not the most effective way to go. So here's the other problem. So you couldn't close that person because you want to be aggressive and you want to close we're talking about the salespeople, right? And the salesperson wants to close the person on the lead, the prospect on the first call. Now he couldn't. Why? Several factors. Trust. They don't trust your brand yet. Not that they don't trust you, but they don't have any reason to trust you yet. They don't know you. Probably they just barely got to know you online. They like you, they think you're awesome, but they haven't done research. No one's crazy enough to give you $20,000 if they haven't found out who you are. Simple as that. Plus the person giving them a call, whether it's on video or on the phone. By the way, I recommend the phone rather than the video. A lot of companies are making this mistake of just going on video. It's invasive and it takes a lot away from the conversation, but that's up to you. It doesn't matter. I can close on video. I can close on the phone. It's just the phone. It's a lot more practical and pragmatic. So now, 99% of the people that are married or have a business partner who are shopping for a service such as what you're offering, they're not going to call with their spouse or business partner the first time. They're going to do it themselves. They're just going to go there, give you a call or have you call them back and be there. If you're just giving people callbacks without setting up appointments, well, you're going to find the person that signed up for the request to be contacted back by themselves. They're not going to be there with their spouse. So no wife or husband in the right mind on a 85-90% ratio will allow their spouse talking to you to just fork $20,000 out. I'm telling you, I know this for a fact. Now, there are some exceptional families that have a different dynamic, and they're fine. They're separate from, making investments. They don't need each other's decision or opinion to be able to invest. But the 85 to 90%, if not higher, of the people that are married, they need, especially 9-to-5ers. If we're talking about investors that are seasoned investors, of course they're not going to have to talk to their spouse because that's their profession, right? So now what the strategy is here is to close them the first on the first call. Now, if this sale is not made or this person is not closed on the first call, now the strategy to do everything possibly to close that deal is gone. Now the next strategy is Plan B, right? Which is let's set up a follow-up, and let's set up another follow-up. So what happens is you went through an entire hour, maybe even 2 hours, to be able to close $20,000. Every single thing that you said, 80% of that information is going to be forgotten by the recipient of that information. They're not going to be able to relay that information to their spouse or business partner. And if you get the business partner to come and join the call on a second call, then the first person who already heard everything is going to be bored, and you're not going to be able to create the same impact. So here's a strategy, guys. Set it up with the person in question, set up all the decision makers, send them to do research, and you season these people for them to be able to make a decision on the second call. And you don't have to make more calls than the second call. Okay? It works like that. Now, in some exceptional cases, some people do need that extra day or whatever. And of course, you have the think about it. The think about it who will just not pick up the phone when they said or told you to call them back, right? So if you have a high ticket deal, 10, 15, 20,000, $30,000, and you're trying to go for the first call, for the one call close, your people are going to be making 10 calls, and the same result that you have when people that would have purchased on the first call close, if they would have bought, now the people that didn't buy are going to drag your feet and make you give them a call, follow up after follow up. And trust me, if your salespeople do not have the talent to close people on a second call, they don't have the talent. If they don't have that talent, they're gonna make up and follow up. That's all they're gonna do. All right. Salespeople that do not have the tenacity to be able to close someone right away that same day. I'm not talking about one call close. I'm talking about a strategy of a setter and closer. If they don't have the capacity to close at the end of the call, then they're going to make up for follow-ups. They're going to start following up and following up until they get sent away, right? Sent back, right? Please take this to the bank. I know what I'm talking about, all right? If you have a high-ticket offer and it takes your salespeople multiple follow-ups, something is wrong. I just said it, right? If you do everything precisely, your setter does everything exactly the way it needs to be done, and this is very psychological. My approach and the way I train these people, these salespeople and closers, setters and closers, is through what is known as consultative persuasive. You don't have to sell. You take the sales approach out the window, and you become a consultant for the process. And when you become the point of reference, when your salespeople become the point of reference for knowledge and discipline, people follow. When your salespeople are displaying the right amount of empathy, the right amount of rapport, when they have the courage to do takeaways, we'll talk about that. I've talked about that before. You're going to be able to precisely circumvent all the problems so that you can only deal with truly what needs to be transpired in the process and be able to close effectively. All right. Let's go with number 3. How does a one call close turn into multiple follow-ups? Well, I already talked about that. If you hire new salespeople, I'm not talking about new salespeople for your company. I'm talking about neophytes, people that are completely brand new to the industry of sales. You want to make sure that you hire someone. Hopefully, they're trained. Hopefully, you focus. Hopefully, you reach out to me, and I can help you with the training of these people, so that you don't have to wait and wait and wait. And here's the other part. Especially if you're selling investment opportunities, if you're selling real estate investing, if you're selling crypto coaching, if you're selling stock market, if you're selling anything that has to do with investing, anything that has to do with helping people learn the art of sales, even the art of coaching. A lot of companies dedicate themselves to teach people how to coach. You want to make sure that you have the strategy down, that your salespeople have the strategy down, because then it's going to be messy. And if you have 10 salespeople, I've seen it all the time. They have 10 salespeople, and 2 people made a sale this week each. Another person made 2 sales next week. And it's like they take turns. I've seen teams of 5, 7, 10 people not making sales, having the entire team not making a sale for an entire month because they're following up. And it's not that the salespeople are not capable of selling, it's that they don't have the strategy. This is not so much about talent, it's about precision in as far as the strategy of taking people through a reverse psychological process, but being consultative and persuasive at the same time, right? So it is very important to understand that. So if I come in and help your team, right, we can hire in. I'm going to tell you this. I don't want to leave all the experienced salespeople out of out in the dark, because I'm an experienced salesperson and I wouldn't like people doing this to me, but it's almost in the line of work that I do, with how surgical the strategy that I possess, the ability that I possess, that I learned from others, how surgical it is. I almost rather not have to deal with experienced salespeople. And here's the reason why. Because 90% of the salespeople out there are conventional salespeople. They know how to sell conventionally, and conventionally is the least of my options. I do not sell conventionally. If you hear one of my pitches, and I challenge you to reach out to me, and I can show you how radical the strategy that I take people through, and in that process, how radical and different it is. All right. Most people sell. I mean, they take the psychology so lightly, when this is not about real estate or crypto, whatever it is that you sell. It's not about that. It's about lives and future. And I see people doing a little bit of that, but so little and so light, and then they jump into features. Jesus, I've sold programs for $20,000, never talking about the program, never talking about technical information, because it's not about that. It's about lives, future, loved ones. It's about a very different game that what most salespeople do out there. I'm not saying I'm better than they are, which you have to have talent if you want to be good at this. And I happen to be very good at this. But I would love to take those experienced people and turn them into money printing machines. I would love to do that, because it hurts to see so much talented people out there not following the right protocols to be able to sell effectively, not waste their bullets in one call, but also not waste their time in follow-ups that are unnecessary and insulting and humiliating, to be honest with you. I don't like to be chasing people around if they don't want to talk to me. The reason, so since I don't like that, then I have to cover my bases right during the time that I have them on the phone, right? So to continue with this, I rather hire brand new salespeople that have the character, the personality, who are outgoing, that I can tell when someone is really good for this, the way they express themselves, the level, the pitch of the voice, I mean, some of the attitude, the mannerisms, and all that stuff. But if they don't know anything about sales, I can turn those people into freaking phenomenal salespeople within a couple of weeks, right? I have testimonials. You can check them out. They're right here on YouTube. You can go down the list and check out the testimonials there, right? Coaches, mentors. It should not take you more than 2 months to go from zero to a couple of $100,000 a week, at the very least. If you want to go conservatively, if you want to go aggressively, within a month we can get you to $500,000 if you really want to go the distance. One of the reasons I don't recommend people going that fast is you got to be careful with the way you grow. You want to make sure that your fast growth is good growth, is not negative growth, right? But sometimes it happens. I mean, I had a company that after 6 months, I was generating consistently $600,000 every week, and it took me probably 3 months to get there. The economy was a little bit different. Credit card money on credit cards were a lot substantial. We're talking about 2000, from 2000 to 2007. People would, just a simple truck driver would have $80,000 worth of credit cards in his pocket. So it was a little bit different, but we still have people with plenty of credit cards to be able to play with and invest. Right, all the other people's money, OPM. Okay. There is a bit of a phenomenon in. I want to make sure I don't make enemies with this, because everybody has the right to create whatever model or business models work for them. So here's the thing: there are companies that can finance coaching, right? So if I wanted to learn, if I wanted to invest $15,000 into tax liens and deeds, for instance, coach for tax liens and deeds, there are companies that if I have a specific credit score and I make a specific amount of money, I can get financing. I can get those people to lend me the $15,000 if I provided that I can pay, the $600 a month, and that I'm going to make it work, right? That's great. If you're, in my opinion, and you can make comments and disagree with me, but in my expert opinion, with limitations, because everybody's an expert, but nobody's perfect, I believe that you're going to lose a lot of sales if you are only limiting yourself, because a lot of companies, what they do is they don't have access to merchant accounts, especially agencies, right? So if you have an agency, right, you don't have access to a merchant account, but you're taking a mentor's money, and you say, give me so much money, I'll create the leads, I'll make the sales, I'll just give you the money once we make the sales. And if they happen to be financing and only doing the financing, the problem is, as a mentor, all you care about is having as many closes as possible. You're not going to make money in the financing. The only people making the money in the financing is the agency, right? Most likely, they're probably not going to pay the closer for the financing deal that they're also closing along the coaching program. But here's the problem. Financing should be a B plan or plan B. It should not be your primary source of collections. You should not be focusing on collecting money based on financing, because what happens is, and you got to be careful if you want to go that route, please do not advertise that you're going to finance their coaching program, because once you do that, rest assured, and there's no flip side to this, I don't care how you flip it, but you will create the majority of the leads that you're going to capture will be terribly broke people. People don't have money, and if people don't have money, and if they don't have a job, they don't have good credit. If they don't have a good credit score, they're not going to be able to qualify for the financing, right? Now, to add insult to the injury, if you don't have a way to be able to process credit cards, if you don't have a merchant account, then you're only left with the rare situation of being able to get someone who has money, credit scores, and here's the other hiccup. As a closer, I never, ever want to give people time for the investment. I get to the end, and the challenge is on the table. In fact, before I get to the end, they already committed to the money. I already know an hour before, are you going to commit to the money at the end of this call? Only if they tell me yes, I will go through the technical information of what they're going to be investing into. If they tell me I'm not ready for that, that's it. I don't even play with that. At that point, I tell them, listen, if you're not ready for this, what's the problem? They tell me, I don't know who you guys are, whatever. You need to do more research, because a lot of people in between the set and the close, you tell them to go do research, and they don't realize that they're going to invest $10,000 or $15,000 to do a little bit of research, and at the end they tell you, "Well, I haven't done enough research to be honest with you. It's go do more research, and when you're ready to do this, that's tomorrow, between today and tomorrow. Boom, let's talk." And then I never go through the entire technical presentation of the process without being assured that I'm going to get the investment at the end. Now, when you finance people, now you have to hand it over your closer, and this is completely unfair to the closer. This is why financing is an alternative, a last attempt for someone who probably lied to you, or they don't have money and they have your credits, and you're like, okay, let's go for the financing. Because what happens is you have to hand your prospect to a finance person. Hopefully you can transfer these people, right? And the finance person is not trained by a real salesperson, but in another sales industry. They're not going to be as dominating as they need to, and they're going to start asking for signatures, social security numbers, applications, this, that, and the other. And the problem is people do not like to give that information out, especially now. And even if they do, they start getting cold feet, and you start losing sales. So out of 10 possible sales, out of 10 pitches, I would have closed 7 of them if I would have gotten a credit card, if I would have had the possibility to process a credit card. But with the finance, I'm pretty sure I'm going to close 1 or 2, as good of a closer as I am, to be honest with you. So if someone is telling you that their primary source of processing credit cards, after you make an investment to create leads and have that team sell for you, if they tell you that they're going to finance everybody, because it sounds great in theory, on paper, it sounds like a great idea to have people, hey, we're going to finance you, right? You don't even have to take money out of your pocket. It sounds great. But in practice, it never works. I'm not saying it never works. It's just I haven't seen it. I've been in this industry for 25 years. I've never seen it work. I've seen it work as an alternative, as a contingency plan, but not as a main source of being able to process investment payment. I just don't. I would rather make installment payments if need be, but that's the way it is. All right, mentors and closers. Here is the answer if you're trying to make it in this world. If your sales team is just making $20,000 here, $30,000, you want to start making 6-figure, give me a call, reach out, let me know in the comments. I'm going to edit the video. I'm going to put a phone number so that you can call me. You can visit my www.blacklabel-closers.com. You can submit an application there. You can IM me here through YouTube or school, SKOOL.com. You become part of the community. If you're a mentor or closer, send me a message. Facebook, Black Closers, Black Label Closers, and make sure Black Label Closers, right? Let me see that I didn't make a mistake. www.blacklabel-closers.com. Here on YouTube, Black Label Closers. You can also send your guys to watch the live events every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. I try not to miss it. Sometimes I'm going to miss but I try to be as consistent as possible to be here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Salespeople, if you're trying to be a closer, effective setter and closer in this industry, go to school, sign up for the free course, sign up for the $97 course, and if you want to be really aggressive, you can become my partner through the partnership program, which is we split everything 50-50 when you sell that program. Right? You can put your money where your mouth is. I would never learn that saying. To be able to say it the first time correctly. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'll see you next Thursday. This Thursday coming up, I'll be here, and hopefully we can make it work for all the closers and mentors out there. All right. Have a good one, guys.